mirror just now in the Hula Valley down here is the city of Kiryat Shmona, named after 8 people that were killed in Tel Chai. We'll be visiting Tel Chai in a few moments. Here we are. Tel Chai was one of the first, you might have heard the name Yosef Trumpeldor, or Joseph Trumpeldor, who came and during World War I, he fought with the Russians and he lost his hand. And then he came to Israel and they said that he used to plow with his hand and he used to fight and they settled. You see, when the British were here, during the British Mandate between 1918 to 1948, there was a law that says it was maintained from the time of the Turkish Empire. And the law said that if you build a tower and walls around it, then you cannot destroy the settlements or you cannot destroy the village. And what the Jewish population would do, not calling them Israelis yet because Israel was not established, it was pre-Israeli, it was called Palestinian Jews, if we can call them this way, because the land the land was called Palestine, which, by the way, I don't think I mentioned to you, but the name Palestine comes from the Second Temple period, from the 2nd century, when Hadrian, the Caesar of Rome, had enough of the Jews, and he said, let's change the name of this country so the Jews will not be able to claim property, because if you're a Jew, you come from Judea, but if they change the name of the country, they will not be able to say that it belongs to them. But little he knew that Judaism is not necessarily a matter of nationality, it's more of an item of a way of life, and the commitment to the land was not something that can be just erased by changing the name of the country. But he went to his advisors and he asked them to give them a name of a nation that was here and does not exist anymore. And they said, oh, they used to be here, the Philistines that used to settle along all the coastlines of the Mediterranean, and they're not here anymore, they disappeared. So he said, oh, that's good. We'll call it Palestina first, second, and third. And he divided the country, certain parts of what today Israel, Lebanon, Jordan, and Syria. And that's what he did. And that maintained it throughout the history. The interesting thing is that he changed the name of Jerusalem as well to Ilia Capitolina, the capital of Helios Adrianus. But this lasted only for a short period of time. And then Jerusalem got its name back. So again, Jerusalem maintained its name. Unfortunately, the land of Judea didn't, but it received the name Israel when Israel was established in 1948, named after the name that was given to Jacob when he struggled with the angel on the river Jabbok along the Jordan River. And the angel said, they struck him on his hip and he said, that's the tenderloin. And that's why in Judaism, the tenderloin is not kosher. And he grabbed on the angel and he says, before you leave me, bless me. And he said to him, your name will become from now on Israel, which means struggled with God. And that's where the name Israel came from. And that's why they decided to use Israel and not another name. So you can be an Israeli Jew and Israeli Christians and Israeli Muslim. Otherwise, you can be Judea Christian, Judea Jew. It's kind of tricky. Anyway, so they built this compound of this area, and we did it quite a lot around the country. And that's how we were able to establish communities and settlements or villages in this area. This is the lion and the monument for the people that are buried here. As you can see over here, all of the people that were buried in the struggle and the fight of this, the area of Tel Chai, all the way up to 1948. And again, another one, a different angle of the picture. And you can always go back to here and click on these links and see that. And right next to it is Metula, which is right on the border with Lebanon. Here you can see it. We are standing in Israeli territory. The border is right here. And this house and this mosque is already in Lebanon. So there is only a beautiful orchard of cherries that are here, belong to Israel, and the border is right there. That's the area of the Good Fence. For those of you who have been to Israel before and came to visit the area of the Good Fence on the border with Lebanon. And how incredible that now we are going back and helping Lebanon with this horrible devastation that they're going through, which we see pictures and your heart is broken. Mount Hermon, another angle with more snow because it's in a higher peak. And we are going to drive along the border with Lebanon and go to the Re'ut Museum, which is the museum of commandership, which was established there and as well one of the projects of one of the projects of JNF in the Upper Galilee. In this museum, remember yesterday we looked at the map of Israel, and we can see here we are right here in this green area. This is the Hula Valley. This D-shaped piece of land is called the Golan Heights. Whoops, called the Golan Heights, and then we are now up here on the border with Lebanon, and these settlements that we just talked about, or these villages or these communities that were built here and they were established in around before 1948. That what brought for the United Nations or the Council of the Nations, which the UN partition plan, which is decided that that's how it will be. So you see all of that area was Jewish population. This was mostly Arab population, Jewish population along the coast. For the same reason that this area was all swamps, same as here. Nobody was maintaining the land and they were willing to sell it. That's the Rothschild family and the Swartz family, Nathan and many other Hirsch families and many others. And then the southern part, which was a desert, and that was. And Jerusalem was an international city. And in the Commandership Museum, it tells the story of all of the battles that took place in the vicinity of the upper of that area. The fortress that is there, or the police station. Again, remember Latruni the other day, we stopped at the armored vehicles. We spoke about the special uniform, and their police station that was built by the British, a police station that was built here, Metzudat Yesha, and it was conquered 3 times. It was the first battle, and the first successful battle that took place before 1948. And now we are driving back down. We are going to go around the area of Kibbutz HaGoshrim. I have family at the kibbutz. I used to spend a lot of time at this kibbutz almost every summer as a kid, and we'll do a little bit of kayak and the rafting, and then we start going up towards the Golan Heights. Yesterday we stopped. We ended the day here at Kibbutz Gonen, where they are going to be building the Culinary Institute of the Galilee Culinary Institute. That's what Kibbutz Gonen looks like today. And that's what Kibbutz Gonen looked like in 1948. Sorry, there weren't any colored pictures available. And as we are going from Kiryat Shmona, and we're going to be driving up to the Golan Heights, which was part of Syria pre-1967, and we'll go to Mount Bental, then we'll go at Katzrin, and then we'll continue here, and we'll stop at the winery here, then we'll go to Kfar Haruv, to the Shalom, Mitzpeh Shalom, the Shalom observation point, and then we'll drive down and we'll head on to Bet She'an. Just to give us a little understanding where we are, this is Israel right here. This green area, this is the area of the Golan Heights. This is Lebanon. This is all of that is Syria. And that's what the Golan Heights here, that was part of Syria pre-1967, right on the border, right along this area, right all the way around here. They had control of the whole area of the northeastern part of the Sea of Galilee, and Jordan is right here, and you can see it here in that vicinity. As we go up, we start our ascent to the Golan Heights. We stop at the Banias, which was Caesarea Philippi at the Roman time, in Banias because it used to be called the city of Pan, the idol Pan. There was this temple that was built to the idol Pan here, but since in Arabic you cannot the letter P doesn't exist, so every P becomes a B, so every pepper becomes a beber, and every Paneas became Banias, and that's why the name of the place. But this is the place where a part of this water that forms the Jordan River are born. These are all springs. These are all natural springs that form and come out of here. And you can see some more pictures of that. There is a beautiful waterfall in that area that we'll take a walk to. It's not a very long walk, just about an hour to go around. And right above it is the big fortress of Nimrod Fortress, which was built during the Mamluk period. And the Crusaders as well, which guards the road that leads from the Hula Valley here, the area of Kiryat Shmona in the distance, all the way along here up to Damascus. It's a beautiful fortress, as you can see. And it's right at the foots of Mount Hermon at the ski resort of Mount Hermon, which you can see where people are actually skiing. Again, as I mentioned, this year it was not very active. The Veativ, beautiful hotel that is in the vicinity, and you can actually stay and rent a bunk or a hut or whatever you want to call these houses. And then we continue. You can see Mount Hermon in the distance over here. So we haven't driven that far, but we took about 40 minutes drive. We drove through the Druze villages of the Golan Heights, and we came to a volcanic mountain, volcanic mountain known as Bental. You see this mountain over here and this mountain over here, where we are, and right behind us there's another one. There are 7 volcanic mountains on top of the Golan Heights that are not active, but the whole area of the Golan Heights is all volcanic rock. And on top of this mountain, it used to be a major Israeli outpost, and we'll see that in a second, and with trenches and everything. You can walk around later. And but over here you can see the border with Syria. It's right here, all the way around. All this whole road that you see here is all border with Syria, and that's the cross point. And over here there's a little UN camp over here. But they converted this mountain because today the battle is not necessarily on here, but the intelligence is not by looking, it's by listening and having all of these radars. So on top of the mountain next to us, it's called Avital, and this is Bental, the son of Tal. And here they built a coffee shop, and it's called Kofi Annan. You might remember that Kofi Annan was the head of the UN, I can't think of the word right now, of his position. And he was Kofi Annan. But in Hebrew, when you say Kofi Annan, you mean coffee in the clouds. So because this mountain is often covered with clouds, because of its altitude, especially in the winter, then we gave it coffee, but you can see it's written here with K-O-F-I, and Anan in Hebrew is cloud. And that's how cafe in the clouds or coffee in the clouds. It's really nice. And it's a beautiful area. And from here, we can see the area of the city of Quneitra, the old city of Quneitra, which is right on the border. You can see the border right here. And in the distance, this is the new city of Quneitra that is mostly for military purpose. Today, the whole situation in Syria is very complicated and it's very bad. Some of the areas in Syria are controlled by Hezbollah from Lebanon, and the Iranian forces are trying to break in or get into control. We'll see what will happen. Syria is totally devastated. All of the immigrants that are fleeing from Syria all the way to Greece, Turkey, and other countries, and Europe trying to find refuge. Almost millions of people that have fled from their devastations and the destruction of the country. We continued up to the area of city of Katzrin, the beautiful city on top of the Golan Heights, and the beautiful area, very green, very lavish, and very calm, and very nice with private homes and apartments, etc. But Katzrin is named after the ancient city of Katzrin, which was a Jewish city that was here from the 4th through the 7th century. One of the 27 different Jewish villages that were on top of the Golan Heights. The Katzrin is one of them. And in Katzrin, we found we found the synagogues in almost in every one of them. We'll visit a couple of them. Katzrin is one of them. See, it's a beautiful synagogue. This is the main entrance. And then these are the columns, maybe holding a second floor, and the place of the location of the Aron Kodesh, or the Ark of the Covenant, was just in the further inside. Golan Heights has a lot of vineyards, and they breed a lot of horses. They breed a lot of cows for dairy and for meat, and a lot of vineyards, because the soil, it gets very hot here during the day and very cold during the night, which is great. And the soil is extremely fertile. It's made mostly of basalt, so you have very successful and very good effect on the grapes. Chateau Golan is one of them. The other one is Yeked Ramat Golan. There are dozens of wineries in the Golan Heights. We're just visiting a couple of them. to see how they do it. Some of it is in oak, some of it is in stainless steel. But the names are interesting because one of them is called after Mount Hermon. The other one is called Yarden, after the Jordan River. Gamla, which is going to be one of the places we're going to be visiting just momentarily. And another type of Yarden, which is a Merlot. This is a white Yarden, and this is a red Yarden. The Gamla is the word derives from the word camel, Gamal, in Hebrew, or Gamla in Aramaic, which was a language that was spoken 2,000 years ago. Gamla was a fortress that, remember Josephus Flavius, we spoke about him in Jerusalem and in Masada. And Josephus Flavius, when he was the commander of the Galilee, and in the Romans come, and one of the first places they attacked was the area of Gamla, because they came from that direction, and they broke the people at Gamla built a wall to protect it here, and then over here down in the slopes of the mountain, that's where we found the synagogue with the ballistic stones and arrows and everything, because the Romans besieged it, and then once they were able to penetrate and to attack it, the people escaped, stood on the top, on the edge here, and jumped to the death, and not to fall into the hands of the Romans. That's at least what the story that Josephus Flavius tells us. Next door, there's a beautiful short hike, and we walk down to see this magnificent waterfall that is mostly active in the winter. In the summer, there is less water, obviously. But while we walk, we have to be very careful because there are lots of places, lots of areas, and lots of fields that still have a lot of mines that were put in by the Syrians, and we are still trying to take them out. It's an incredibly difficult and costly project, but we do it and we try to maintain it in such a way. And then we proceed all the way down and on the top of the Golan Heights, and we are standing at the view from Kfar Haruv over here. For those of you who have been to the Golan Heights before, you might have been there. It's an observation point, and it shows you what the Syrians saw when they looked at us before 1967. They were sitting on top of the Golan Heights, overlooking down to the Sea of Galilee, and that's what they saw again. This is down here, that's Kibbutz Ein Gev. Kfar Haruv was visited with Golda Meir, with Anne Bancroft, and when they came to visit when they came to visit Kfar Haruv to see what it looks like, or what it looked like, let's say a long time ago, yes, when Golda Meir was the prime minister, and they to see how the Syrians saw us before 1967. And this is another beautiful blooming time of the poppies in the Golan Heights. A lot of sabra and prickly pears. Sea of Galilee, gorgeous afternoon with the beautiful sunset, and the Jordan River, which flows not right at the bottom of that area. And then as we reached the area of now we came down from this from the Golan Heights, and we crossed the Sea of Galilee. We went on to the other side. Yes, we were here, and now we are going up to that area. And we are going down and then driving around and coming to that area, because this is the center of the ministry of Jesus. That's where Jesus formed and lived for 3 years after he leaves Nazareth, at the age of 27. And he goes to live in the village of Capernaum, and then he preaches and teaches the Beatitudes, and this is the synagogue that is in Capernaum. The synagogue is from a later period than the one of the life of Jesus. This is from the 3rd through the 5th century, but it's built over a synagogue that is believed to be the one where Jesus preached for 3 years before he went up to Jerusalem for the last week of his life. One of the things we find in the synagogue is this piece of stone. It is very beautiful, and you can see there are 2 wheels here, and over here there are pillars, and over here there are 2 doors, and above it there is like a shell, and this is what maybe the Ark of the Covenant, or the Aron Kodesh, was in the synagogue, was on wheels, because that's how they show it to us. Or it's just a replica of the Aron Kodesh that was taken by the Jews before it was brought to Jerusalem. And it was taken from one place to another one, or through the time that it was in the desert. As we drive around this area, remember the Druze community from Mount Carmel and the Golan Heights, and that's where Nebi Shuaib, which is one of the Jethro, one of the places that pilgrimage for the Jews to come up to that area. This kibbutz Gennesaret, or Ginosar, on the shores of the Sea of Galilee. And that's what it looks like from this area. This is Israel. Yes, this is what this is the city of Tiberias. Golan Heights is on the left-hand side of the picture. And when in many years ago, in the 80s, there was a big drought, and one day they a couple of the fishermen of the people of Gennesaret went out, and in this area they found something that looks like a boat. They unearthed it, they took it out, they did the whole project. It was a very complicated project, but they found a boat from 2,000 years ago. So it gives us an understanding of what the people of Magdala, which was a major Jewish city, or major Jewish town in the area of the Sea of Galilee, that's what the fishermen used to use. Or these are the boats that, according to Josephus Flavius, when Herod comes and the Romans come to conquer this area, they fled on these boats and they sunk into the sea, and they might have driven. According to Josephus Flavius, he says that the Romans were so nasty and mean that the color of the water of the Sea of Galilee turned red from the blood of the people. The city of Tiberias, the way it was in the beginning of the 20th century, and that's what it looks like today. We were just now here, up in these hills, on this area. This is where Capernaum is, and this is where the Mount of the Beatitudes is, where we saw the building with the arches, the church. Another beautiful view of Arbela, one of the villages on the cliffs on the Sea of Galilee. We were just now down here. And another beautiful Sea of Galilee picture with birds, people, and right next to it, as we are driving, is the old town of Tiberias. It's called Hamat Tiberias, and it's a synagogue from the 6th century, from the 4th through the 6th century AD. And you can see here a synagogue. You can see this is the menorah, the candelabra. We can see here the shoforot and the spice shovels over here. And then over here is the Ark of the Covenant, the Aron Kodesh. So that's probably where it was standing, in this area, or most likely in this area over here. But that's how the synagogue was going, in this direction, all made with mosaic floors by special artists that put stones in different colors that are all natural colors of the stones, and they put them in the floor, and they formed this magnificent carpet of history. And over here you can see the zodiac, and over here there's a picture of Elijah, and Elijah that is or it's not Elijah, I apologize. I always confuse them, because this is Helios, the idol of the sun that was chasing the sun every day, and disappearing at night and appearing during the morning on the chariots. And maybe the word Elijah derives from Eliyahu, the way we know it, derives from that history, because remember that Elijah went up on the chariots of fire up to heaven. From here, we'll continue to drive from the area of the Sea of Galilee. We're going down this way to Bet She'an, and then going up this way all the way to the area of Neot Dumim, and then the Ben Gurion International Airport. Kinneret Courtyard is another project of the JNF, and it's one of the places where they're trying to preserve, like Tel Chai, where we were earlier this morning, to preserve some of the stories of the first communities that were established on the shores of the Sea of Galilee in the late part of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century. Some pictures from that period. See, everything is made of wood, and what we talked about, the wooden, the tower and walls, the system of construction. In the Sea of Galilee, if you go back to this map here, you see the Jordan River flows into the Sea of Galilee here, then it flows in, and then it flows out of the Sea of Galilee, and it goes into the Jordan, into the Dead Sea. Jericho is right here. We were driving on this road here. The tradition says that when Jesus was baptized by John the Baptist, it happened probably in this cursor area right here. It happened probably around this area, because this is as well the place where Joshua sent his people, or Moses sent the people, the 12 spies, to go and see what the country is like. And then they stayed in Jericho, and that's where they crossed it. And Jesus is being baptized in that vicinity as well. But this is an area of the border. You can visit it. But we'll stop at that area here because we are not going to be driving on that road today, but just to give you a general overview. And that's what it is. This is where the Jordan River flows out of the Sea of Galilee, heading down south to the Dead Sea. And Kvutzat Kinneret opened here a beautiful spot for the people to come and to renew their baptismal and to connect with their faith and with their religion. And they go all dressed in white gowns and they immerse themselves. The priests will immerse themselves. It's a very, very special, a very spiritual and uplifting experience for the members of the Christian faith. Just continue south of there. There is called the Island of Peace, and the very sad story that happened here. This is area that was under Israeli control up to a short while ago, and that after the Israel signed the peace accord with the Palestinians, we signed the peace accord with King Hussein, and we saw pictures of it the other day when we visited the Rabin Square in Tel Aviv, and shortly after we signed the peace accord, there was incredible ceremonies and lots of actions and lots of activities. And finally, we were able to start traveling to Jordan and to go to Petra and to go to Amman and go to all of these magnificent places that are in Jordan. But this island became like the symbol of the island of peace. And lots of Israeli groups from from schools used to come and travel to this area, and Israelis as well. And then a school of girls from Bet Shemesh, right outside of Jerusalem, came to visit here. And this very sad thing happened because a Jordanian soldier that was standing up here opened fire and killed 7 of them and wounded a few more. It was a devastating situation. The Jordanians claimed that he was insane, that he did an act of insanity, but it was not it's hard. It doesn't make any difference because by now these girls are all dead. But what the fascinating action that was done by King Hussein, he flew on his helicopter from Jordan, from the Amman to Jerusalem, and went to visit these people and went to every house of each one of these girls and to give sympathy and condolences while they were sitting Shiva. And not that it brought back the girls, but at least it gave them some kind of a comforting situation, which is the king is coming down and visiting us, and he insisted that they should not stand up when he walks in, but they should remain seated, and he kneeled in front of them. Very moving gesture, but very sad and very disturbing situation, unfortunately. And as we drive further south, we drive to the city of Beit She'an. You can see in the distance over here, this is the area of Jordan. These are the mountains of Gilead. That's where Elijah came from. And then down here, you can see some of the fish ponds that I mentioned to you, that all of the birds that fly along this area, they all go down on these fish ponds and they consume a very large amount of fish. And here we have the city of Beit She'an, which is right in the Beit She'an Valley, and it connects the 2 valleys that we saw earlier. This is the ancient Tel. Remember, we mentioned the word Tel Aviv, and we said that Tel Aviv is the hill of archaeology, and it looks like a trapezoid. Look at it here. And that's the reason is because it's one civilization on top of the other one, all built here, because it's a holy site, because it might be because it has a major source of water, or it might be on a major intersection, and therefore you need you maintain this place. But once it's destroyed, it moves up, and then it gets the surface of the mountain gets smaller and smaller. This is a fairly large tail, and we have hundreds of them all around the country. But this is the one of Beit She'an, the same one that King Saul had to fight against when the Philistines maintained it. But this city is from the Byzantine period, and it was destroyed as a result of an earthquake. And therefore, we find this area a huge city that remained here, and excavated by many of the Jews that migrated to Israel during the time of let my people go from Russia when the walls of the communism opened up, and they were able to come and visit the country. And they moved to the country, and they needed work, so the government gave them the opportunity to participate in the excavations. And that's what we find. It's a city that is combined of stones that are basalt stones, like the black stones that we saw from from the area of the Golan Heights and the Galilee. And then these are some of the limestones that are here, and you can see how everything is maintained and how everything was kept. And it's an incredible, fascinating visit here. It was built here. We don't really know why did the Romans and the Byzantine put such an effort to build such a huge city here, but possible it was just because it was on the border and they wanted to people who went through it to tell, oh, you've no idea what this incredible city that they built and how much money and how much power they have, because this is a symbol of strength and ability to build and to create. Just outside of Bet She'an, we have this area of Gesher and Naharaim, and this is one of the places where the trains used to be here, to go through here, and as well the area of a power station that was built. You see the train tracks over here, yes, the old one, and the area of the train tracks and the train tracks and the area of Naharaim, where they try to have here a power station that will be working on hydraulic, on water. But unfortunately, it never worked and they abandoned. But it's another project that JNF is involved here in the area of Gesher and Naharaim. And again, you can learn more with the link once you get it. Then we continue to drive through the valley of Beit She'an in Harod, or valley of Harod, and Prophet Deborah, the place where she fought and she struggled and she led the nation as a woman, one of the first women that leads battles in the Bible, and very successfully. And right at the foots of Mount Tabor, which is another one, a very important mountain in the valley, and it's important for the Christian faith, known as to be as the Mount of the Transfiguration, that Jesus went up to the mountain and was transfigured from a human being to the Son of God.